Hello, everybody, and welcome Beyond the Playbook. I am Justin Sommerfeld, your host. I'm going to start you out with some breaking news here, real quick. The Denver Broncos have promoted Tim Tebow to starting quarterback after his second half performance against the San Diego Chargers. Tim Tebow had a rushing touchdown and a passing touchdown in the second half against the San Diego Chargers, and a comeback that fell a little short there at the end. He was their second round pick, and not many people thought they were going to take Tim Tebow. You know, he's not really the prototypical pro quarterback. His release is a little low. He's kind of a run first guy. I mean, he brings a lot of energy to the team, though, so it's good that they're going to finally use their investment. And I'm taking it as that the Broncos are going to make this move because this is kind of a lost season for them already, sitting at 1-4, and you know they kind of don't want to waste the big name players' time with a 1-4 start. They're kind of just tossing Tebow in there, and you know maybe he's not ready to be a starting quarterback. Maybe he is. Maybe this could be a good move for them, but I guess we'll find out. But it looks like it's Tebow time in Denver. TCU has unanimously accepted an invite to join the Big 12 Conference. Many years ago, when the Big 8 became the Big 12, TCU wanted in, but they felt they were left out. So now they're getting their chance. TCU had already previously accepted an invitation to join the Big East, which is now falling apart as we speak. So they went ahead and accepted the Big 12's offer. This is a better fit for them geographically. They fit better in that region, even though this would make it 4 or 5 Texas teams that are in the conference. But TCU is definitely going to bring some swagger to that conference with their defense and their offensive style. You know, it's good for them to finally shed their BCS Buster tag and take on an automatic qualifying conference. Arizona fired their head football coach Mike Stoops after a 1-5 start and an 0-2 start in the Pac-12 this year. Stoops had a 41-50 overall record. He's a great defensive mind, and hopefully somebody can come along and pick the guy up. He definitely deserves to still be a coach. A little news on the NBA lockout. No progression here, actually some downfall. The first 2 weeks of the season have been canceled due to no progress on deals or talks. There's no talks scheduled for this week. A little bit different story from what we heard in the NFL, where the NFL talks really heated up there within the week of when they got their deal done. You know, I don't believe there's going to be even a 3/4 length NBA season this year. They're too far apart. There's too much to get done. The revenue split. There's two different sides. One wants 50-50. One wants more than 57. 57-50. It's a tough deal when sports are put on hold over money and whatever else. Hopefully the NBA can kind of pull through and figure out what they want to do and get a deal done here. I'm just glad to hear that the NBA players have not decertified, which would have been a terrible move on their point. But I see there maybe being a half a season, but it's looking pretty glim for there being any more than about 60 games. Moving on to what happened last weekend for the NCAA and NFL football. There were some pretty good games. All top 5 teams in the NCAA won pretty handily. Nobody won by less than 20 points, I believe. Nebraska and Ohio State had the best game by far. Nebraska came back from being down 27-6 with about 11 minutes to go in the third quarter. Ended up scoring a couple touchdowns in the third and a couple in the fourth. Bringing it back, Levante David forced a huge fumble on Braxton Miller, just basically stripping the ball straight out of his hands. Nebraska were there to score on an 18-yard rushing touchdown by Taylor Martinez. Later in the third quarter, Martinez would go on to throw a 36-yard touchdown pass to Quincy Enunwa, which was a very, very good read on his part, a very nice pass. And after that, he would go on to throw another touchdown pass to Rex Burkhead in the flat for 30 yards, and Rex Burkhead would finish off the comeback and with the go-ahead touchdown on a 17-yard toss sweep to the left. Nebraska battled that whole game. The defense really stiffened up in the second half. Braxton Miller got hurt. It's tough to see a quarterback go down and have to throw in Joe Bauserman, their fifth-year senior, but you got to prepare for those situations, and that's why you have 2 or 3 quarterbacks on your depth chart. In the NFL, the Patriots and the Jets was a good game. Patriots ended up pulling that one out there. The Packers and the Falcons was one of my favorite games on Sunday night. Very well fought game, back and forth there the whole game, and the Packers brought it out. Aaron Rodgers started off a little slow, picked up his pace. The Bears and the Lions was probably my favorite game of the weekend, which was last night on Monday Night Football. The first time the Lions have been on there in quite some time. The game was pretty close there in the first half. Not a lot of separation, but Javid Best broke out the scoring in the second half with an 88-yard touchdown run, and they pretty much never looked back after that. That's the recap of football from this weekend. Throw a little baseball in here. The Detroit Tigers are down 0-2 to the Texas Rangers after a Nelson Cruz walk-off home run last night. The other series with Milwaukee and the St. Louis Cardinals is tied at 1-1, which that series is gonna probably develop into being quite a pretty good 7-game series. Those are some pretty evenly matched teams. The Cardinals basically need to win the World Series this year to keep Albert Pujols interested in that team. He's a free agent after this year. They still haven't worked on a deal. They haven't found a deal. He's a very, very vital part to that team. Tiger Woods this weekend, he turned in 3 consecutive rounds of 68 at the Fries.com Open and finished tied for 29th with a 7-under performance. Winner Bryce Mulder finished a -17 with a 6-hole playoff win over Brainy Byard. It was a very, very great golf tournament. Glad to see Tiger Woods kind of shake off the dust a little bit and turn in some 68s. You know, the guy needs to come back. I think he's on his way back. Golf's a tough sport. It's pretty much 80% mental, 20% skill. It's the game. He's got his game, but he's just got to figure out how to put it all together. Won't see Tiger again until the Australian Masters in November, and the President's Cup in November. He will play as a captain's pick. That's good for him. Any team he's on, they've got a great chance to win. Baseball. Got some games coming up this week. Looking like the Rangers have a pretty good chance of closing that series out with a sweep, unless the Tigers can figure out how to overcome their hitting problems. Preview for the weekend of sports coming up. We've got some pretty good games in the NCAA. We've got a huge battle in the Big Ten with Michigan and Michigan State taking on each other in the morning. That's going to be a great game. Bernard Robinson and Kirk Cousins are going to go at it as quarterbacks. Those defenses are good. Michigan's defense has surprised a lot of people this year. They've actually played defense for once. If Michigan State can contain Bernard Robinson, the Spartan defense could have a pretty good game, and the Michigan State could probably pull out a win there. But if they can't contain Bernard Robinson, it could be a long day for that Spartan defense. Later in the day, we have Oklahoma State and Texas. Oklahoma State's undefeated. They've had a really great year, won some good games. Brandon Whedon and Justin Blackman seem to be the unstoppable connection on that team. Texas is coming off of a pretty bad loss to Oklahoma, where they got trounced 55-17. Look for that team to bounce back a little bit and come out with their hair on fire. Their quarterback situation is what's kind of holding them back right now. It's tough to start 2 freshmen, and now you have their starter from last year, Garrett Gilbert, transferring after having season-ending shoulder surgery. And to finish off the day, we have a good Pac-12 matchup between Arizona State and Oregon. Oregon has a pretty serious loss with Michael James suffering that elbow injury last Thursday against Cal. It's tough to see a player go down like that, but I think he'll be back this year. The injury looks pretty serious, but the way it sounds is that it's just a dislocation of the elbow, so hopefully he can come back. He's a pretty good running back and a Heisman front runner. Arizona State's won some big games. They upset Missouri in overtime, beat USC. They've won their first 3 Pac-12 games. They're 3-0 in the conference. This could be a pretty great game if Arizona State can contain that high-powered Oregon offense, and if they can score some points on Oregon, we could be looking at an upset here. But I still think Oregon prevails in this game for sure. That's your preview of the upcoming games for the NCAA. Now in the NFL, we've got some decent games after a pretty great week last week. We have a couple bye weeks this week. For the schedule, it's looking like we have some good games between. Okay. Looking like we got some good games in week 6. We got St. Louis, Green Bay, Indianapolis, Cincinnati. We got Dallas at New England. There's a good game. The Cowboys, they've had some pretty sizable leads, but giving up a lot of points in the second half. Tony Romo, you don't know what you're going to get with him. He's either good or he's bad, When he's good, he's good. When he's bad, he makes a lot of mistakes. We got New Orleans at Tampa Bay, Minnesota at Chicago. Minnesota really needs to pick up their play. They got a win there against the Arizona Cardinals. They finally didn't give up a lead in the second half, and they forced some turnovers on Kevin Cobb, and their season might be looking up after they grab here a couple wins here. San Francisco at Detroit. San Francisco's 4-1 for the first time in a while. Detroit obviously undefeated. That's going to be a really great game between those two teams. Carolina at Atlanta. You got Cam Newton going up against Matt Ryan. Atlanta had a tough loss against Green Bay on Sunday night, but look for them to bounce back. I think they can hold Cam Newton out of the end zone pretty well. Philadelphia and Washington could be a decent game. Philadelphia's sitting at 1-4. A lot of people thought they were the dream team and they could kind of sail through that a lot like they thought the Miami Heat would. They need to get a win basically. They need to protect Mike Vick. They protect him and he can pick apart a secondary as good as anybody else can. That is your preview for the NFL weekend coming up. We will go ahead and move on to the highlight of the weekend, which will be Javid's best 88-yard touchdown run. I'll go ahead and pull up the clip here and show y'all. Basically a really great play. The defensive end was out of position. He went after the receiver when he's supposed to have responsibility and the quarterback. Javid Best, he's got a lot of speed. Probably about a 4.3 low or high 4.2. Guy went untouched straight through the line, and not a lot of pro players are going to catch him.
These two have the raw material to get it done. Can they keep them healthy? Can they surround them with enough guys to be stellar players in the league?
They will be, Mike.
Stafford and the Lions take over from the 12 in search of a running game. There goes Javid Best. Merriweather chasing. Not going to get him. Javid Best all the way home. Touchdown, Detroit.
That's hard to believe. Nobody touched him. That was clean.
What a great play. Lions there. Javid Best showing some serious speed and gets some good offensive line blocking. That's going to conclude our show for the week. I hope you all enjoyed watching. I'll have a new show for you on Sunday, giving you a review of the football weekend. This has been Beyond the Playbook with Justin Sommerfeld. Go ahead and hit us up on our website, is btp.com. Thanks for watching again. I hope you all enjoyed it. Any comments or suggestions would be greatly appreciated. And I hope you all have a good week. Thanks a lot.